What is going on, guys? This is episode 2 of Talking to Myself, and in this episode, I'm going to be talking about failure and the ways that we misperceive this, and why, in fact, we should not be scared of failure. Now, a little background from this as well. I did episode 1 talking about suffering, and this popped into my head because ultimately I was looking through it, and I was listening through it rather to say. And quite frankly, I was a bit annoyed, a bit disappointed in the video. I thought it could be way better. And to be quite honest, normally I would delete a video like that, an audio clip, whatever you call it. I would delete it and say, this is awful, I don't want anyone to hear this, know about this, because it sucks, I've failed, this is ultimate garbage. But I've had a change of mindset, and quite frankly, I think we should embrace these things. We should share the fact that we're not perfect. I'm aware, episode 1 that I did, if you may have heard it, if not, go check it out, it's alright, but it may help you. I'm aware that some people may think it's half decent, other people may say it's awful, but for me personally, I didn't think it was up to scratch. I waffled a bit, I could have done better, could have left with some better action points. But ultimately, if we do something wrong, and we fear that people will judge it, so we hide it, we get rid of it, we delete it from our memory, try not to do it again. This is taking away from what we are as humans. We all make mistakes, and no matter, even if someone's Instagram page looks perfect, someone presents themselves as never making mistakes, it's all garbage. You will make mistakes, and you're lying to yourself if you don't. And we live in such a bullshit society. Hopefully this doesn't get taken down with swearing, but to be honest, I don't really care either. But we live in such a garbage society where it's frowned upon to make mistakes. People look down on you if you make mistakes, if you fail. Yet failure is the only way to grow. How can you grow if you don't make mistakes and learn from those mistakes? The thing is, what people do, people fail, and rather than learn the mistakes, they're so embarrassed of what other people think of them. They're so embarrassed that the thing they thought they wanted didn't work out, so they just never try it again. Similar to what I spoke about in the suffering video, we need to change our relationship to failure as well. And then we can see it from a new perspective and realise that failure is actually the best possible thing that can happen to you. Yes, you may do something. Let's say in this case, I was doing an audio clip that didn't quite sound as good as I thought it would. If this was me a few years back, I would have deleted that and not even have posted it, because I think, what are people going to say? They think this is rubbish, they're going to laugh at me, they think this is garbage, and that will put me in my own box. So ultimately, I'm creating my own suffering and my own problems because of that fear of failure and fear of what people will think. When in fact, I can look at this differently and say, the video maybe wasn't as good, the audio clip wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. 1, why is this the case? This is the case because I was waffling, whatever, blah, 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 whatever the reasons are. How can I work on these problems then? I can work on them, in this case, add more structure. Maybe I could plan a bit before, even though I like just speaking just for the fun of it. That's not the point. This is just an example. So learn from it rather than run away from it again and put yourself in the box of never trying it again. The key is to make the mistake, learn from it, try again. Make the mistake, learn from it, try again and again. And keep doing that. I think failure is good as well because it breaks us out of the habits. It's a pattern interrupt. The reason why you're failing is because you're doing something that is not working, so something needs to change. If you kept doing the same thing that's not working over and over again, you're not going to get anywhere. The whole point is to say, wake the hell up. Wake up from this habitual pattern that you've been stuck in, this cycle, and change what you're doing. That's why we make mistakes, to learn, snap out of it, and do something different. That's the key, do something different. But a lot of people make a mistake, don't learn from it, completely oblivious to what they've done, not willing to look at what they've done. They blame others, play the victim. Then they do the exact same thing in a different scenario. And then they complain, I never get this, I never get that, I always attract the same people. Yes, change yourself first. Look at what you're doing wrong. Look at your failures in the past and work on them. Do something different. Yes, the thing you do differently may also fail. Then do something different again and again and again, as I've mentioned. It absolutely baffles me. People are not willing to look into themselves, do the inner work, but just love playing the role of a victim. The whole point of this is to grow, the point of life, to grow, to get better, to improve yourself. It's all good, some people look at successful people. They say, oh, you got lucky, or they'll act from jealousy and try and put them down, all because they've failed in the past and have not persisted to improve themselves and get to a position where they'll be content with. Look at every single person at the top of their industry. Big examples that everyone knows of, like Elon Musk, these kind of people. They've had more failures than anyone. I think it was, I don't know the exact amount, but like 200 billion or something stupid he lost in 2022. Yet he keeps persisting. He keeps going. His companies were close to going bankrupt on multiple occasions. But he just does not give up. If you've got a vision, if you've got a goal, and it excites you, and you believe truly that it is the thing for you, then you have to go for it. It may not happen in the way you think it will. And that's the thing. People need to learn the difference between failure and a temporary setback. This is the universe's way of testing you. You may get these little mini setbacks just to see along the road that you're going down if you're really dedicated enough. I don't know, let's say you want to become let's use the example, a public speaker, I don't know, just as this example. You may think, I have to be on stage by the end of the year because otherwise I'm not a public speaker. I have to, I don't know, you may think it has to be one particular way. I have to build a social media following, I have to do this, I have to do that. You may go ahead and do that, so you build a public speaking profile on social media, and then no one watches your videos, listens to your audio, just whatever it may be. This is a little test. Okay. No one's watching your stuff. No one's listening to your stuff. You could see this as a failure and go, you could instantly go to the fact, it's not for me, I failed, this is rubbish. Or you could say, maybe the social media route is not the right path, or maybe I try to learn different ways to use the social media, so you could learn from that. Use that little mini setback as a way to alter what you're doing. So maybe you make a different type of video on social media. Or maybe you start doing in-person stuff. So you keep adapting, using those mini setbacks as a way to improve rather than seeing it as a failure. Now, it's got to be said as well, there is a point where sometimes failure is a sign for you to stop doing said thing, that thing that you were doing initially. Now, you often, if people were to look within themselves and actually learn about themselves better, they would know when it's the case of a difference between actual failure and a potential setback. Now, the actual failure would be the case when there's no longer that drive, that passion for it. You're not doing it from the internal wanting, okay? So it comes as more of a knowing, yeah? And if you were to reflect internally and you knew yourself and what makes you work, what excites you, what doesn't, you would know if that thing you're doing is actually for you or not. So you'd know, for example, if there was a big failure, I can't think of a specific example, let's just say the thing didn't work out. A lot of the times you would just you would basically get to the point where you're, okay, I'm done. But it wouldn't be from a point of, giving up. It would be from a point that it's a knowing. It's hard to describe unless you've experienced it, okay? So it's more of a knowing that this path's not for you, so you try something else because that gives you excitement, the desire, it gives you fulfillment. You see a vision for it, a vision for something else. But once again, it's a bit of a reframe because this thing that you may have initially thought for you that is not for you could just be a redirection into another path that actually is for you. So you could just use the first path to learn from, to grow. It may not be your full-time thing you're going to do forever, but it may be perfect for, I don't know, however long you do it. It may be a year, maybe 2 years, maybe a few months. Just to learn, get some experience from it, and then life moves you into the direction that is actually for you. But this comes from doing some inner work, which is, I'll have to talk about this in another clip, to be fair. But to summarise, I'll just say this. Rather than running away from failure, I think we need to actually learn to fail more. So rather than be scared of it, we actually look at it from the perspective of saying, failure is growth, because I look at what I've done wrong, I learn from it, I adapt and alter what I've been doing, so now I'm a better version of myself. So the best way to do this, and I strongly suggest people actually do this, is to start doing things they're uncomfortable with. Ideally on a daily or every few days, on a daily basis would be ideal, but I'm aware some people don't have the time. So even if it's once a week, do something that you're uncomfortable with. I mean, it has to be small, but do one thing you're uncomfortable with, because you're going to be bad at that thing if you're uncomfortable with it and you don't like it. It could be something as small as go speak to a stranger in public. You could just do that for a week or two, and then gradually go speak to 2 strangers, 3 strangers, 4 strangers. As you get better at doing that and more comfortable, go say something silly to a stranger. Okay? Because you're going to feel that embarrassment. You may fail, you may get rejected, whatever it may be. Whatever that thing you're uncomfortable with is. But rather than see it as a failure, look at what you can learn, and also look to get comfortable with that feeling of people judging you, and also that feeling of what it feels like, what in your head, what you think is failure. And then look at it from a perspective of, as I said before, what can I learn? How can I adapt and change this? And what is this teaching me going forward? So guys, I hope that was good, and let's see what the next episode will bring. Thank you again. And share this with anyone that you think may benefit from it, if anyone actually ends up listening to this. Love you all. Goodbye.